here we go. Howdy, everybody. This is JR from West Virginia and Commonplace, and I am coming back after a long, long hiatus. And we have a special guest with us today. Her name is Ashley. And Ashley, please fill everybody in on your last name. And then the greatest question on earth is, who is Ashley Abramson? I just put your last name in there.
You
So
did
now
it.
you can go in real quick. Please tell us who you are and why you're here today.
Yeah. So as you said my last name right, which is not common. I'm Ashley Abramson. I'm a solution focused self-love mentor, trauma coach. And essentially I walk with women to their answers within. And I've also built a badass community called Big Miracle Energy. And that's men and women just trying to figure out who the F they are, how to wake up from this illusion and get out once and for all. So that's a little bit
Okay,
about
that's
me.
that's awesome. And we're not a PG, so say whatever the
Okay,
hell you
good.
want to say on here.
All
Yeah, no
right.
doubt on that. So let's do this real quick because this is what happens in interviews. We go so fast, but we don't get the negative part of what brought on what you're doing now. Because
Mm.
everyone puts a positive story, but let's do the negative part. What was negative that made you start Big Miracle Energy? Because there's always something negative that leads to a positive. So how
Yeah.
can you help me with that?
So it's a twofold. The unicorn effect came before Big Miracle Energy. So I'll
Okay.
start us back to before the unicorn effect. So I had done what most everybody does, is built a life of happiness outside of them. I had the house, I had the career, I had the kid, the white picket fence and the dog. Everybody wants that. I was keeping up with the Joneses and boom, I was getting divorced at 32 years old. And I had struggled with mental health in the past and my entire life fell apart. It was ripped out from under me. I started doing things that I didn't even know I was capable of doing. I had attempted suicide when I was 18 years old, or 17 years old, but I wasn't successful. And at that moment, I remember after my divorce, I was like, man, you tried to take your life once, it didn't work. It's not going to happen. Like, you're not going to be able to take your life. So instead, I just was doing everything possible to kill myself without killing myself. I was staying out at the bar all night. I was waking up in random men's bed. Mind you, I was 32. I'd wake up with a 21-year-old. I mean, just doing outrageous things that were not my nature, but it was because I had completely destructed. And prior to that, I had done tons of mindset work. I was part of an MLM, which I'm no longer, but I was part of an MLM and they were big into personal development and Tony Robbins and, all this craze of doing mindset work. And I thought I was the happiest, healthiest, mentally, emotionally, and physically ever when the divorce started, and realized that mindset work is just like the icing on the cake. Mindset work is great. I'm not talking against it. But when the rubber meets the road, mindset work will not withstand the test of time. Your cold showers, your daily affirmations, your journaling, your meditations is not going to save your ass. I promise you that. I am direct representation of that, and many of my clients are as well. So that's when really I got in trouble at work, and I was forced to meet with this woman who held this light for me. She was light, but not from the woman who I was before I got divorced, but from the little girl I had locked up that tried to take her own life because she just didn't feel like she fit in. So instead, I created this facade of what I thought society thought Ashley should be, instead of being the loud, outrageous, has crazy ass ideas, always thinking outside of the box and asking every single question. And that's who I was as a kid. But she saw me for that girl, and I would come into her office and tell her the craziest shit I was doing, and she never phased. I was looking for her to say, yeah, you're a piece of shit, you're not savable, but she wouldn't. She just she's like, okay, now what? It's not the end of the world. What do we do next? And then when I really started to dive deep, I had been a child protection worker for over a decade. I was trained in trauma and working with people's childhood. And I realized I hadn't done my own. I hadn't done the deep work. And that was when my journey began. And when I came out the other side, I experienced this immense self-love I had never felt. Like, it's like what they talk about in the movies. You're like, yeah, right. That's not true. We're taught it's not true, but it is. And I was like, I never want another woman to not have the opportunity to feel this. Because I remember before I was assigned at work, I would try to Google fix my ass, and everything I found said you were doing everything wrong. I was like, well, that's not helpful. That's just creating more shame and guilt, right? Like, you should be going to church. You shouldn't drink during this time. And I was doing all the things I shouldn't be doing. And so I just started posting about it, and my business blew up really quick. And that was the unicorn effect. And like I told you, I unlocked that Ashley that thinks outside the box, that never takes your answer for face value. I always go 7 whys deep. I don't trust something that doesn't feel fully right. And that was my journey of spirituality. I have been to the church, and when I go in, I go all in. I went to the church, then, I went into the new age movement of manifestation and energy healing, and I would go all in. And every time it still felt like there was something missing. So in true nature, I kept asking the questions. I kept doing more searching for truth. And the more I uncovered the layers of myself is when I found my truth within. And now I've built Big Miracle Energy, and it's a place. It's a Patreon channel. It's a place where people can just get curious. It's safe. You don't have to align with the masses who are out there doing energy healing or this or that. You don't have to align with the church. It's your journey. And Big Miracle Energy is that place. It's the place to get deep. It's free of judgment. And I live every day by the quote, "We're all just walking each other home" by Ram Dass. And I firmly believe that. So yeah, that's the long and the short of how we got here today. But essentially, my fucked up divorce is the final straw that broke the camel's back.
Okay. Now, embracing your inner childhood, it brought on all this to you, and you have to put it in a bottle at some point, because when you get all this expression, right? And I've learned this for myself, that when you're expressing yourself and you're learning about the inner self and what you need to do going forward, you have to shed some of that fat, as I like to call it. You have to get rid of some of that dead weight. When you got rid of some of the dead weight, did you lose relationships? Did new relationships foster that have been great fruition? Or was it a lot of more negative stuff than positive stuff at that time?
So at the beginning, when I started to do the work and shed the weight, because you say, just how I do, it's like when you really step into this, if you dedicate yourself in 1 year, you'll feel like you've lost half your damn body. And maybe it doesn't look any different, but that is where your weight comes from. So at first, my ego was like, oh my gosh, you have no friends anymore. It was this sense of needing to belong and sadness and sacrifice, until I realized I'm not sacrificing shit. That stuff didn't align with where I'm at. And sure enough, the more I grew, the more I changed, the different people came into my life. And still to this day, friendships may not last long. And I used to take it as when you're in high school and you don't have friends, that sadness. And now I see it as I truly live and believe with my entire being that some people are just meant to be in your life for a moment, a season, a reason. And it's not about you always. And when you're growing on the trajectory that I am, and you are constantly just being a mirror of authenticity for other people, you understand that sometimes a lot of people aren't ready for that. And I know I'm not for everyone, and that's okay, because if I was for everyone, I would be for no one. I wouldn't know who the F I was. But the more polarizing, I guess, I've become is the most beautiful thing ever. And not that I like to piss people off, but your message is clear when you've got the haters, right? When you've got the people that have seen the mirror of themselves. Yeah. So I think I answered your question there, but definitely tons have changed.
All right. So you embrace your inner child, everything is going in motion, and then Big Miracle Energy starts.
Yep.
How did Big Miracle Energy come about? Were you just sitting somewhere writing on a notepad or something, just hey, Big Miracle Energy?
What do you have any thoughts of where it maybe came from?
I'd say this: a trauma,
Okay.
maybe the divorce, or maybe the energy that you had to put forth to to handle your inner child, to embrace all of that. Maybe you got a high spirited energy from your inner child.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's beautiful what you said about that. But the funny piece is Big Miracle Energy is a play on Big Dick Energy on the song.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
So, and then the initials are Be Me, right? So it's
Yes.
really about when you stand in your authenticity, miracles just happen. And I'm not talking, we have been trained to believe that miracles are like if you're almost dying and you live, or yes, those are miracles, but literally every time you come from a place of love instead of a place of fear, that is a miracle. So when you are living authentically yourself and being true to love, which is what you are pure love, then you're just amongst miracles. That's all you constantly experience is miracles, miracles, miracles. And there is no level of hierarchy in miracles. You being saved from dying is just as equal in weight in this illusion to, I didn't stub my toe, something like that. So it's also a play on that, like big, even though there is no big miracle, miracles are miracles. And then energy, which energy is a part of the illusion. Miracles are outside the illusion. Miracles are what happens when the dreamer remembers that they are the dreamer. You're the one fucking dreaming this, right? Like if I dream
Yes.
tonight that you're in my dream, it's not like you walked your ass into my dream. It was in my mind. I made an image of you in my mind. That's what this is. You're an image in my mind. I'm an image in your mind. So it's the same thing. So there's always miracles. So that's really where big miracle energy came from, is when you're authentically you, that's all you got. You just got a bunch of ass miracles going on.
All right. So look, this is something I like to do so we can get more personable for the audience. I need to know, what is a typical day for you?
Oh, geez. Okay. Typical day. My boyfriend gets out of bed, makes coffee. I stay in bed literally as long as I can. I used to be, that's another thing. When I was big into mindset and listening to all these people saying the only way to make billions of dollars is to get your ass out of bed at 4:30 in the morning, blah, blah, blah. I did that. Fuck no. Do what feels right to you. I roll out of bed maybe 8:20. Then we have our coffee. I live my life by A Course in Miracles. So every morning we spend time with, connecting with the Holy Spirit and God and doing our reading in A Course in Miracles. And then I might get in the shower. Ultimately, I have clients and different paperwork to do. But like today, I painted. I painted today randomly. We usually work out Monday through Friday, and working out isn't for the bodily things. Yeah, that's great. But I know my body isn't real. It's for the mind discipline, right? If I want to choose love over fear, I got to discipline my mind, and doing things that I don't want to do is disciplining your mind. So yeah. And then now at nighttime, we eat dinner. My boyfriend is a cook, amazing cook, by the way. I'm so blessed with that. I was married. I was with my ex-husband for 18 years. I have a son, and I always had to cook. So I'm very blessed. He cooks, we clean up, go for a 2.5 mile walk, come back home. We do not consume television of any sorts or movies Monday through Friday, because I cannot show up as my best self if I am consuming shit made by the ego for the ego. There's no way I can stay in the Holy Spirit. So Saturday night and Sunday night are our gluttonous nights of watching television, whatever it is we choose. Yeah. And then we go to bed at 11 o'clock. That sounds
And that's,
boring.
well, no, it sounds
It's
really
amazing though.
structured it sounds really structured. So my question is, with that discipline, how do you not waver away from it sometimes? Because here's the thing that happens to people, and this happens to me too. I travel a lot. We just established that when I talked to you earlier. Like right now, I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio,
Yep.
and it's taking so much of me not to try to go to a Cincinnati Red game or other stuff, because I know I have to do this podcast. I have to get back to doing interviews. I've got to get back in this mode and mean of what made me who I am today in podcasting. So my discipline is, hey, I've got to stick to these shows. I've got to make sure that the guests are comfortable. We get a good rapport before we do it. If we don't get a good rapport, I'll record the show. If we get too good of a rapport, then the show goes live on Twitch like it is right now. So so your discipline, how do you keep that discipline? What inside of you keeps your discipline so tight beyond the workout? Like what in
When
your
you
mind clicks?
So when you feel what's on the other side of untying from the ego and really understand what's going on here, you do everything you can fucking do to get there. And so knowing that mind discipline is super important. I have made a decision as of yesterday that I am leaving Instagram and I am leaving my personal Facebook page behind, because it is something made by the ego for the ego. And literally at the end of the day, what matters most is me practicing forgiveness and waking the fuck up from this dream. That is my mission number one. And why the hell would I go sit and consume something all day, every day? Because let's be honest, I tried the discipline thing of like, okay, only 10 minutes, only 10 minutes. But for that 10 minutes, I'm brought back into a different way of thinking, a different thought system of the ego that just pulls me out. So I gave it up. But ultimately, the answer to your question, I would say, is once you taste it, you will do anything. So you just push yourself. And sometimes it's like you go to the gym and you don't want to do the full workout. Fine, don't. But the biggest piece is you went, right? You walked your ass into the gym. To me, it's about giving yourself grace along the way and not giving all up, right? Because we're so taught that it's all or nothing, when in fact, there is a middle ground. So say there's a day where we're like, oh, we don't want to work out. Well, let's for sure make sure to go for a walk tonight, right? But you also hold yourself in check of, is this becoming a habit of like not doing the mind discipline thing? Or is this just like legit? Today I'm super tired. I had tons of clients, blah, blah, blah. And even that's usually not a good excuse, but owning it, it's an excuse, right? But you have to own it.
Okay, so your level of commitment got so high in life that that's your true discipline there. The commitment level that you have strived for, you have achieved a hierarchy that not too many people can reach. So I want to commend you on that one because, like you said, I have to follow a strong suit like you did too. Because even like tonight, for instance, I had a show before yours and a guy showed up late, and I have a policy of 6:05. His show was at 6 o'clock. 6:05, I'm sending you an email saying, "I wish you best in your future endeavors. Get the hell on out of here. Your
Peace.
interview wasn't worth my time." So I want to thank you for that. And you're giving me like a little hype. I'm gonna have to do a little exploring. So one thing I want to touch on, if someone wants to become a potential client, where do they find you at?
So Big Miracle Energy, man, I have monopolized that. I was lucky it wasn't taken yet. So bigmiracleenergy.com, Big Miracle Energy YouTube. Like I told you, don't go find me on Instagram because in 2 weeks you ain't gonna see me there anymore. So Big Miracle Energy Facebook page, it's a business page. Or you can email me at ashley@coachwithashley.net. I love conversation. Like I said earlier, we're all just walking each other home. So I love respectful, open conversations. So reach out to me. Let's chat. Let's, whatever it may be. But mainly follow me on YouTube or Facebook if you just want to be the creeper in the background and consuming my info. 100% good with that. I've been that. I get it. But yeah, reach out.
All right, and also thing about this episode, anybody that's listening on Twitch right now, or who will check this out wherever else this video goes, is this one thing. In the show notes, if you're listening to the podcast, Ashley will provide me with all the information you need to reach her, meet her, greet her, and not be a creep through message.
Well, they can be a creeper.
Well, I thought you said be a creeper through video. I mean, or just watching
Oh,
from afar.
just watch him from afar, I meant. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go on a journey real quick. In life, I just turned 38 on July 13th. So happy birthday to me on that one.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much. So I pay homage to 2020 magazine. I mean, the magazine, which is the TV show that's on ABC. Barbara Walters was my favorite interviewer, and me and her did some things to be, to make sure that we get real personable and we ask the hard hitting questions. So, and I had to cut the light off for that one so we could get the mood for it. So here's the thing. John Stossel was on there and he was a comedian. Diane Sawyer asked really straightforward, concise questions that got to the point. But Barbara Walters made you feel magical. She made you at 10:57 or whatever time, right before 11 o'clock. She either made you keep watching, the news that came on, or you went to bed wondering, huh? So here we go. Ashley, here are your 2020 questions. Are you ready?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I grew up with that too. So I'll be 40 on the 14th of August. I get it. I feel it.
Oh, okay. Leo,
Yeah.
Leo, right? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. All right.
Yep.
All right. So here's your first question. All right. Success is something that is measured by everyone. We all have a definitive term for our success. Me, for instance, success for me is progression from a previous time. Some people don't adhere to that. Some people say that progression is just an evolution. Myself personally, I don't believe that. So, what I need from you is your mission statement on what success means.
Oh, what does success mean? I think success is a glorified, ego created concept that either keeps you propelling forward or keeps you stuck. I think success has become something it wasn't meant to be. So if I could bring it back to what it's meant to be, success means you're just doing what you're meant to do, and that's forgive. You're showing up with love. Like literally at the end of the day, I live every single day by these 4 words, and I have for 2 years: love, forgiveness, gratitude, and spirit connection. At the end of the day, if literally I did nothing but show up loving, practice forgiveness, made some sort of spirit connection, and had gratitude, it was a success. If I did nothing on my to-do list, but I did that. So I just think showing up as love, but I think success is a very heavy word that fucks a lot of people up.
All right. So, you don't adhere to the mantra of success. So, what do you adhere to? What shows a personal progression in your life? And the reason I ask that is because, you destroyed my success right there, that
Sorry.
terminology.
Yeah,
And that's
I did.
also, no. That's what's great for these type of interviews. So, what is your terminology for progression in life? Like, going from the Ashley that you were 7 days ago to the Ashley you are 14 days later. What is that progression called?
I guess transformation would be the word for it. You know what? That's a good question, because I don't even know what I refer to it as. I don't refer to it as an achievement, but just a way of being, right? Like I work every day to just fucking be without labels. So you might really have me stumped in this question. Maybe this is a direct representation of what you would call success. I've been working my ass off to remove the labels, and now you've put me in the corner, and I'm like, fuck, I can't even come up with an old label.
So, evolving and revolving are transformation adjectives that people like to use. So, right now, today, are you evolving or revolving?
What's revolving? I haven't heard someone use that for transformation. What do they mean by revolving?
Kind of like you've done your transformation, but some of the things from the past are revolving. They're coming back around. Things are coming back full circle.
So I'm a firm believer that your only lessons here are to forgive. And there's different lessons you have to forgive. So along your journey of lifetimes, or even this lifetime, right? If I didn't forgive that lesson 20 years ago, it's going to show up today. It may look different, but it's essentially the same thing. So my answer to you is, until I lay my body aside, or you have a conversation with me and I'm like, I've fucking made it. I'm enlightened. I'm outside of the stream, but you can see this body. It's so kick-ass to have this conversation with you. Then I would say I'm revolving. It's just a constant repeat of the stuff, the shit I haven't done yet, the forgiveness lessons. And now I'm getting the opportunity to do it so I can wake up once and for all.
All right. So there's no evolution, because you do have an evolution. You told the story of where you went from from what you were before you were divorced at 32, correct?
Yep.
And you're evolved to what you are today at your current age of 34. So,
but I'm evolving through a process of revolution, or what did you call it? Revolve. Say what you said again. What is it?
You're revolving and evolving. So you're revolving.
I'm evolving through the process of revolving. Does that make sense?
So then that's your evolution.
Okay, there you go.
We'll go with that one. So now let's go to let's get to a hard hitting question. I love to do the 2020
I
questions
think
because
that yeah, you already fucked with my head.
right, yeah, it's a mind fuckery all day long. All right, so this is a tough. All right, you have to promote yourself. Promotion is the hardest thing on earth to do as any type of form of content creator. Now, hold on real quick. So I do this real quick for anybody that's listening. When I am talking about a content creator, I'm not talking about an influencer. I'm talking about someone that puts something out with a purposeful message to align people together. And it's not the idea of being like-minded. It's having experiences that bring you together. Because people that are like-minded don't always have the same experiences. And that's something that gets lost in this whole social media thing. And one thing I want to say before you go too far is I like that you're leaving Instagram in these places because augmented reality has distorted our reality. You and I are old enough to know ever since CompuSoft or AOL with those discs, that's when it started with the first instant messenger, the first Netscape, and all that stuff. It was premature then. The ICQ chats and all that stuff evolved into what we have today, and we've lost reality.
Mm-hmm.
People really think that that's what life's supposed to be. So anyway, getting back to the question because I rambled a little bit too long. So now I lost my question.
Oh
You remember what I
no.
said? I
You were
forgot.
you were talking about sharing yourself on market yourself essentially.
Yeah,
How do you market?
promotion. I'm sorry. Yeah, I
Promotion,
apologize
that's the word.
about that.
That's okay.
I'm rusty, everybody. So your promotion. Explain to people how you promoted yourself to other people because there's two different things: promotion, advertising, and marketing. Promotion is I'm not saying my achievements, but I'm letting you know the bad, the negative, the ugly, and then the positive. I'm letting you see me full circle because when we advertise ourselves, we always advertise ourselves in good and bad lights. But most of the time, we do a good light to say, "Hey, I came from here. I want to enhance people." But sometimes it's that meaty part that doesn't come out in advertising. Marketing, on the other hand, you bring it full circle, and we only market stuff when our advertising fails in some respects. So we'll get to the advertising marketing part, but tell me about your promotion to people.
So how I promote myself. I don't know if I've ever like consciously like truly thought about this. I've always been a firm believer that I'm an open book, not a firm believer. I've always lived by I'm an open book. And the people I resonated most with when I was on social media were also those open books. So I just shared it. I shared the shit. I shared the good times. I shared the bad times. I always live on the ground and hold myself to the standard as well as others that I may believe something today, but I can change my mind tomorrow. That's the beauty of this world, right? And I think so many politicians, religions, all that shit pigeonholes themselves into a belief that they maybe no longer believe because they can't be humble enough to be like, hey, this doesn't make sense anymore. So I just share it. Literally, I just share it. Like, take it or leave it. I'm not for everyone.
And I appreciate that because that right there was probably the gem inside this episode. Not saying that anything else wasn't, but you were personable right there and you gave people like, hey, I can do this, but it may not be for everybody. And a lot of people that come on this show, I'm not disrespecting them when I say this, but a lot of them just do a little tomfoolery just to get people to be involved with them. So I really appreciate that. Now, this is where it gets serious.
Oh,
really,
shit.
really serious. Man.
Oh,
Man.
no. I
Fucking
didn't know what's
Jesus.
going on. Barbara Walters.
Sorry, Jesus. I didn't mean to say that. All right, so here it goes. You have to give a TED talk. Everyone, that's the ultimate thing. I know that you said the Tony Robbins and all that other stuff. You don't want to do a TED talk, but you've
No,
achieved a
I
certain
do.
level. So we're role playing right now. So doing a TED talk, you're going to do it in all four coasts and the fifth coast because we have this fifth coast. That's the Midwest. So you're on the East Coast, and we're going to put you somewhere prestigious. Let's just go to Washington D.C. and you can be anywhere in Washington D.C. doing a show. And TED Talks with demographics in these areas, we're not worried about race or nothing like that. We're just purely where you are because you've traveled around. So you're in Washington D.C. What is the conversation you're going to have at your TED Talk in Washington D.C.?
Oh, wow. So you're telling me the location is mattering here,
Right. And
right,
the reason that
Barbara?
right. So listen, the reason that the location matters is because every location you go to, it's a different vibrant feel of people. When
Mm,
I'll give you an example. When I'm in Florida, it's a different mode and mean for me. When I'm in Ohio, it's Ohio. We don't even speak on Ohio. It's a whole different thing. When I'm in Wyoming, it's really, really slow. It's not a lot of people.
mm.
Montana, same thing. California is so fast that you have to move things around very quick. So in Washington D.C., that's the middle of our culture. It's close to New York, it's close to Philadelphia, it's close to so many places that it's one of the melting pot places. I mean, you got it anywhere else, but Washington D.C. is a hub for a lot of people. You know, everybody goes there at some point in life. So you're there, you're giving your speech. Heck, you can just give it out there by one of the monuments. What is the? Let's just do the first sentence that you give people.
Oh, oh.
And while you'd think I'm going to give a little filler here, the reason that I picked Washington, D.C. is because when I was a kid, we would leave Virginia and go to Washington, D.C. and see all these little monuments, but there were always people there. There was always someone stressing their beliefs outside in the what they call the National Mall, which is the area where all the food trucks are. So you would hear a lot of interesting things. You would hear different terminology things, and it's a very interesting place because when you're there, you're basically seeing almost half of the world or a good part of the United States because everybody visits there because they're the national monuments.
Love it. So, that's a super hard question that I've thought about doing TED Talks. And I'm going to say, first of all, that no matter where the hell I did a TED Talk, I would do the same talk. And the reason why goes to my same statement prior to this, that I just give it how it is. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not the one that's here to adjust based on who the fuck you claim to be, because at the end of the day, the journey I'm on, I know who you truly are. And that's what my talk will be about, is how to understand and unpack who the fuck you truly are, and to wake the fuck up and realize you were dreaming and stop placing so much weight on the shit that doesn't even matter.
Okay, I like that.
And I'm going to give that talk everywhere. I'm going to give it in China. I'm going to give it in Egypt. I'm going to give it everywhere.
Okay, and I like that. Now, so you do this TED Talk and it inspires you. You have a podcast. So you know how to use your voice, you know how to enunciate, pronounce everything, and you get something in the mail after this TED Talk. You have saved someone from committing suicide. You have saved someone from initiating a trauma, which is something that people don't talk about because sometimes you say something and you stop somebody from going to hurt someone physically, mentally, or emotionally, whatever. So you stop someone, let's skip the suicide part right now, but you stop somebody from hurting someone emotionally. We're not worried about the gratification or what it does for you inside. What is the face value of that to you?
I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to here. Spread the message of truth. And to me, it's about content, not form. So when I'm fully in alignment with the pure oneness and love that I am, I could sit here and tell you or someone about ready to commit suicide that peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are really great. And they could hear exactly what they needed to hear in order not to take their lives, because it's not about the form, it's about the content. And that's why I work every damn day to show up, and that no matter what words come out of my mouth, whoever's listening hears exactly what their highest self needed them to hear in order to take that next step.
Okay. Now, this is the hardest question that I want to ask you. And this is the final
These are
2020
getting harder?
question. Hey, listen, because this one question, I have a problem with it. All right. Some people talk about self care, but I reference on this show self maintenance. Because self maintenance is a better terminology. Self care just sounds just whatever. So, what do you do for self maintenance? Now, let me make it real nice and tight so it'll be real concise, like I like to do things. Self maintenance is not the idea of I go drink a cup of coffee because it makes me feel good. Um, what's like me, for instance, for my self maintenance, every single day, and we're not talking about affirmations or none of that bullshit. I mean, that stuff works. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, but
Yeah.
like, what I do every day, and it's not a snack food or anything like that. I listen to my favorite song every
Mm,
day. May not be at the same time, but I take enough time. I'm like, this is my favorite song. I have liked this song since I was a kid, which is Human Nature by Michael Jackson. I play that song, I listen to it, and it doesn't erase anything around me, but it takes me to a time that I was happy. I was always happy. Every time I heard that song, I was happy. I was doing
I
something
love
that
that.
inspired me. So in your case, what do you do to take care of that?
I would say every morning, like I said, I connect with Jesus and the Holy Spirit and ask them to lead my day. And that's where the content comes in instead of the form. So when I do that, it just releases so much weight on me and expectations. So that is my, I love you say self-maintenance, because I don't know if you read my bio, but self-care is not manis and petties and all that bullshit. So I like your word self-maintenance. But that's mine. Every morning, making sure to connect, even if I don't have enough time to sit down, but for 5 seconds to be like, hey, Holy Spirit, Jesus, you're running the day today. I'm just your vessel, and we're not going to the ego. So that's me. And when I say, I want to just say this quick. When I say Holy Spirit and Jesus, this is not at all affiliated to a religion. This is what I believe got fucked up by the ego through man, through religion and all of that. But like the true essence of the symbols of Jesus and the Holy Spirit, and not the crucified Jesus, but the resurrected Jesus. So I
Okay.
just wanted to
And I like that.
preface that.
Now, to tie this episode up, I thank you for doing those hard hitting questions. Though that's what I will always say separates my show from other shows.
I love it.
So here we go. In the final call out on this show, please let the audience know your mission statement. Or if you don't have a mission statement, let them know whatever you want them to know at the very end of the show.
Oh,
And the last thing I want you to do is let us know what has been intriguing for you throughout this whole process of your inner child experience.
mm. So do you want me to share what's intriguing first and then the other things at the end?
That's fine.
Okay. So what has been intriguing for me, I would say in this journey, is how simple it is. It's not always easy, but it's simple as fuck. Like once you actually understand, we make it much harder than it is. It's actually very simple. So that would be the most intriguing thing there. The mission statement I live every day by and build my businesses by and interact with people by, again, is we're all just walking each other home. I truly believe we are one. And yeah. And then last but not least, I end all of my social media posts, all my emails, all my text messages with, remember you're worth it.
Okay. Okay. Now, to finish this up, we like to give thanks to everybody that's helped us along the way. And that's a hard thing to do. So, can you just take a moment and give the flowers to the people that you want to give them to? Because we go along in life, we tell people I love you, thank you, and hey, that was a good job, but we never truly give people their flowers when they need them. We always do
Interesting.
it, we always kind of do it like, just offset. If someone does a favor for us, we're like, okay, thank you, really appreciate it. But people do more for us. Like, for instance, you went from one relationship to a new relationship where someone's cooking for you every night.
Yeah.
So is there a group or anybody that you'd like to give a special shout out to?
I mean, I think so. We can't do everyone. I would say everyone, because everyone, whether bad, good, or otherwise, has helped form the person I am today, right? In the way I'm showing up. Um, Patrick, he's amazing. That's my partner. I'm so appreciative for his support when I, fall apart, him feeding me, all that stuff. And my grandma. My grandma is as unwarm and loving as it seemed growing up. She always told me, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and get the fuck over it. And I know it sounds pretty like disheartening, but it's been really a motto sometimes when I just feel so shitty about myself and I feel like the victim. I remember those words and it somehow gets me on the other side. And then last but not least, of course, Jess Hooper, Ray of Hope LLC. That's the mentor that held the light for me when I didn't even know light still existed.
Okay, okay. And once again, I am JR from West Virginia and Commonplace. And lastly, it's time for the shameless plug. Ashley, give us your shameless plug.
A shameless plug. Well, come follow me. Come hang out with me on YouTube, Big Miracle Energy, Patreon, Big Miracle Energy, or send me an email. You can find my email on bigmiracleenergy.com.
All right, and we're signing off.